Wilbur O. Woods, grandfather.
What is a tradition or an activity you remember doing with your parents when you were a kid that they would stress that they wanted to do it every year? It was something that they would be disappointed if it didn't occur in a year.
Well, we'd have Christmas. We'd try to get a vacation in if possible. Thanksgiving. And traditional things like graduations, and I think those are the main ones.
Was there something you did with your dad or with the whole family where you would go out to dinner on a certain day every year? Or...
No, but I did work with my dad as a teenager. He was in kind of like the plumbing business, so I worked with him, and we were pretty close during that time. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but it's not really a tradition, or is it? I don't know, maybe. Not everybody gets to do that, And I'm kind of at a loss. My memory's not what it used to be, but am I anywhere near what you're talking about?
Well, I know where we stress religion and going to church and gathering as a family. And was that big when you were a child?
Not so much. I did go to church quite a bit, and mainly because they had a basketball. We had a gym inside there, and my mother was very active, and my sister was very active. My brother's a lot younger, so he was not involved at all. But my dad, not so much. He was. As a matter of fact, I remember coming home from church one December 7th, and the day that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor. But my dad was sitting there reading the newspaper, but he knew what was going on, probably from the radio or something. But most of it was any church-related thing was my mother and my sister and me, and as I say, eventually my brother came along, but that was, he's a little bit younger than I am, so he was not involved.
And then, as a father and a grandfather, what would you, when my mom and Uncle Mitchell and Aunt Nancy and Aunt Marilyn were children, what was something that you and Grandma would have been disappointed if it didn't happen? Like if you didn't do this thing this year, that's sad. We didn't get to do that this year. I guess.
Yeah, usually, yeah, possible. Not necessarily always, but later on, we had cassette recordings of sermons that if we couldn't get to the church and we were traveling, on vacation, we'd listen to the cassettes on the radio and thereby, get the message.
Was there something that you wanted my parents to do with me every year? Because I know, like gathering as a family, I know us in particular, we are always together at Thanksgiving,
yeah.
Christmas, and Easter.
Mm-hmm.
As many of us that are available, at least.
Yeah, right.
And I know as the children are growing up, it gets more difficult. But questions.
Little things kind of stick out in your memory, like Girl Scout cookies. I can't remember which of the girls which of the girls was involved in Girl Scout cookie. Maybe they both were. I don't know. That kind of thing. And school activities too, and as Wendy, who was the youngest girl in high school, was playing volleyball, and Mitchell was, what was he doing? He was in some kind of an activity with the YMCA. So it just, I would say it was more or less normal, and I can't remember, and he said, wow, we missed that, we're going to be unhappy, I can't think think of any. Of course, we had, my wife's mother was around too, you know, so we had a lot of activities as far as family, you know, that, but as far as what if we didn't do it, I don't know if we'd be despondent or something, because make up for it some other way, you know. I think that's probably what.
So the being together was the more important thing, not the activity, but so as.
Yeah, that would be the people involvement. Otherwise, you know, it's hard to have a birthday party, you know, if you're the only one there, you know. So we have typical birthday parties, but like I said, if you missed one, I'm not overly, what's the word I'm groping for, celebratory as far as birthdays, you know, at least my birthday. I think, isn't it, you know, the Chinese celebrate everybody's birthday on one day or something, I don't know, I think there's some culture.
I think it's the Koreans.
Okay, somebody I think
Yeah.
does it, and I think that's a good idea, simplify things. But this way, you know, and then the older you get, it seems like these events come around every week, you know, and so it gets to be kind of overpowering. So anything that maybe simplify that a little bit. But I can't think of any event that,
Okay.
because as I say, there was always another one that would kind of take its place shortly thereafter.
Was there something that you wanted to do with your mother or father that didn't happen as often as you'd like, that you did more so with Mitchell or my mom or Aunt Marilyn? Did that make sense?
Well, as I say, I worked with my dad. That was good in several scores, because I was closer to him then, and of course he got the money, you know, so
Did you try to have Uncle Mitchell work with you?
no.
No.
I can't think of anything unless it was, you know, as he grew old, got older, and maybe around the house or something, you know. But, no, I can't think of anything that, I would say just normal family things. It's, as you go through them, you don't think there's anything spectacular or that you're going to be, as I say, despondent if you don't get to do it, because you'll always pick it up the next year or a couple of years later or something. I don't know.
So the most important thing about a family to you was?
Well, to know that they were there, just like now, you know, to know that they're there. And when we moved out here to Phoenix, I wanted to move while the kids were still young enough to go with, and before they got off on a tangent of their own. So our three kids are all in Phoenix, and the grandkids are all nearby, either school, you know, at one of the universities, and that's a temporary thing. Who knows where they're going to end up? But that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that the three kids were with us, and before they got into high school, wanted to make the move. So, and I think we did.
And I know that was a big decision, moving away from the family in Chicago.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about that and how?
Well, of course, that's one of the things that there was family out here, which is one of the reasons we came out here. My wife had a handicapped cousin, and we thought it would be well for her to have some assistance too. And the conditions were right. That's one of the things you do sacrifice. I've got a lot of relatives back in the Chicago area, you know, and as you get older, you can't travel as much, and neither can they, of course. So, but we communicate an awful lot with the telephone today, of course. You know. So that.
Keeping in touch.
Yeah, keep in touch. I used to talk to my brother at least twice a week, and of course he has quite a few children, and they're having children, so I could barely keep up with them, but, so you can't do everything, you know, so I'm not sure that answers your question, but I'm for many reasons happy I'm in Phoenix rather than in Chicago now, you know, so I guess that's,
If there was something you wanted to see me continue as a tradition with my potential wife and children, what would that be?
as far as what?
As far as family get-togethers or an activity with my kids, or like what's something you hope that I will continue to stress
Well,
family-wise?
to the extent that it's feasible, and of course, if you're married, you know, you've got another side of the family to consider, so I don't know if you would alternate where you're going to have Thanksgiving, where you're going to, you know, so those details would have to be worked out, and that of course would be advisable, and we'd like to have them, as we did, in the geographical area, so that would be possible. Now, it turns out some of the kids are, we've got one actually up in Seattle, you know, so that makes it kind of difficult. And one of the family members is in California, you know, so that makes it different. So I naturally prefer to have everybody here, so that you could take turns celebrating what you want to celebrate, and everybody gets involved, you know. So that would be something I'd be interested in continuing.